Imagine sitting down to your morning bowl of cereal and realizing the grains in it were once wild plants no taller than a house cat. That's right, wheat, corn, and rice, the staples of diets worldwide, were not handed to us by nature. They were reshaped by human hands over thousands of years. For nearly 99% of human history, we foraged and hunted. It wasn't until around 12,000 years ago that we started taming plants. But why does this matter today? Because the food we take for granted is the result of ancient agricultural revolutions that changed humanity forever. Who were the first farmers? What tools did they use? And how did they turn wild grasses into the foundation of modern civilization? The answers lie buried in the soil, waiting to be uncovered. 10,000 years ago, in a region known as the Fertile Crescent, humans began cultivating wild wheat and barley. This shift marked the dawn of agriculture, a pivotal moment in human history. Researchers say that for nearly 99% of our species' time on Earth, we relied on foraging and hunting for sustenance. But around 10,000 BCE, people in what is now modern-day Iraq and Syria started planting seeds and harvesting crops. This transition didn't happen overnight. It was a gradual process shaped by climate shifts and human curiosity. Take the wild einkorn wheat. Its domestication in the Taurus Mountains is one of the earliest recorded examples of plant cultivation. As farming spread, so did settled communities. Villages formed, food surpluses grew, and diets began to change. With agriculture came a shift in nutrition, setting the stage for the rise of complex societies. This transformation, rooted in simple seeds, would shape the course of human history. Long before labs and genetic engineering, farmers shaped the foods we eat through selective breeding. Take wheat, a crop that has evolved dramatically over millennia. Early wild wheat varieties produced just a handful of grains per plant. By carefully choosing the most productive plants to replant, ancient farmers gradually boosted yields. A recent report found that by 4000 BCE, wheat in the Fertile Crescent had tripled in size and nutritional density. This wasn't a quick fix. It took hundreds of generations of trial and observation. The same approach transformed maize. Originally a wild grass called teosint, it had barely a dozen kernels. Today's corn cobs carry hundreds. Researchers say this transformation began around 9,000 years ago in Mesoamerica. These ancient efforts laid the foundation for modern agriculture, proving that even without science, humans could dramatically reshape nature to meet their needs. But the story doesn't end there. Genetic modification took this idea to a whole new level. What we now recognize as corn began as a wild grass called teosint, barely resembling its modern descendant. Researchers say this transformation from a small, inedible plant into the staple we know today took over 5,000 years of selective breeding by Mesoamerican farmers. A recent report found that ancient Maya and Aztec societies were not just cultivating maize, they were shaping its very genetics, selecting for traits like larger ears and softer kernels. Consider the 2012 discovery in Mexico's Balsas River Valley, where archaeologists unearthed 6,250-year-old maize cobs, offering a snapshot of early domestication. These early cultivators laid the foundation for a crop that would sustain civilizations and spread across the globe. As we trace this ancient agricultural journey, it becomes clear that the humble kernel holds a story as rich as the cultures that nurtured it. In the fertile river valleys of southern China, around 8,000 years ago, a quiet revolution began with rice. Unlike wheat or barley, which thrived in drier climates, rice required careful water management. Early farmers constructed sophisticated paddy systems, some of the earliest known irrigation networks, to control flooding and boost yields. Researchers say this innovation not only increased food security, but also supported rapid population growth, laying the foundation for complex societies. A recent report found that rice domestication in this region predates similar developments in other parts of the world by thousands of years. Take the Yangtze River Basin, where archaeological evidence shows people were selectively breeding rice plants to enhance grain size and taste. Picture this, small communities evolving into bustling centers of trade and culture, all fueled by a single staple. As rice spread across Asia, it would become more than just food, it became identity. Next, we'll see how it shaped empires. Long before globalization became a buzzword, ancient trade routes were quietly reshaping what people ate. The Silk Road, stretching from China to the Mediterranean, wasn't just a highway for silk and spices, it carried staple crops like wheat and barley across continents. Researchers say these grains, first domesticated in the Fertile Crescent around 10,000 BCE, reached as far as China by 2000 BCE, thanks to traders and migrating communities. Take barley. It thrived in Central Asian steppes and became a dietary cornerstone for nomadic cultures. A recent report found that over 99% of human history was shaped by hunting and gathering, but it was the rise of trade networks that accelerated the spread of agriculture. As wheat and barley moved, so did culinary traditions. Picture this: a Persian baker in 500 BCE using wheat brought from the Levant to make flatbreads. These exchanges didn't just feed people, they built economies. The next scene explores how conquest and migration further transformed our plates. At its peak, the Roman Empire fed over 100 million people, but it wasn't farming in Rome that kept the bread ovens burning. Egypt, known as the breadbasket of Rome, supplied up to 70% of the grain consumed in the city. The Nile's predictable flooding made it ideal for growing wheat and barley, which were then shipped along the Mediterranean in massive quantities. A recent report from the Nutrition and Health in Human Evolution journal highlights how this reliance on grain imports marked a dramatic shift from the foraging diets of 99% of human history. Roman bread wasn't just sustenance, it was culture. Public bakeries and free grain distributions ensured citizens remained fed and loyal. This system, called the annona, became a political tool as much as a food program, but it also created a fragile dependency. When Egypt fell to Arab forces in the 7th century, Rome's bread supply dwindled, signaling a turning point in the empire's decline. As we'll see, the grains that built empires also shaped the rise and fall of civilizations. Before 1492, Europe's diet had changed little for centuries. Then came the Columbian Exchange. Potatoes, tomatoes, maize all crossed the Atlantic and transformed global cuisine. A recent report found that within just a few centuries, potatoes alone became a staple in countries like Ireland and Russia, fueling population growth and economic shifts. Consider this: prior to European contact, tomatoes didn't exist in Italy, yet today they define its culinary identity. Researchers say that for almost 99% of human history, diets were shaped by hunting and gathering, not trade. The arrival of New World crops marked a turning point, introducing new nutrients and flavors that reshaped health and culture. Take maize, now a cornerstone in everything from Mexican tortillas to American corn syrup. This exchange wasn't just about food, it was a silent revolution in human nutrition. As these ingredients took root, they laid the groundwork for the next chapter in our culinary evolution. Long before labs and gene sequencing, ancient farmers were shaping the crops we rely on today. Researchers say that for nearly 99% of human history, our diets came from hunting and gathering. But around 12,000 years ago, people began domesticating wild plants, selecting seeds from the most productive or flavorful plants to plant again. This process, though unintentional, was a form of genetic modification. Take wheat. Wild einkorn was once a brittle, hard-to-harvest grass. Through generations of careful selection, it evolved into the robust grains we now use in bread and pasta. A recent report found that this kind of selective breeding changed not just the size and yield of crops, but also their nutritional profiles. Picture this: the tomato we know today, juicy and vibrant, was once a small, bitter fruit. Over millennia, human hands guided its transformation. As we look closer, it becomes clear that the foundation of modern agriculture was laid not by science fiction, but by the quiet persistence of early farmers. Their choices set the stage for the next great shift in food history. Long before plows and irrigation systems, women shaped the very crops we eat today. For nearly 99% of human history, gathering and hunting were the primary sources of nutrition, and it was women who identified, collected, and selectively cultivated wild plants. Researchers say this process laid the foundation for agriculture, with women playing a central role in choosing which plants thrived and were passed down through generations. Consider the domestication of sorghum in Africa. Evidence suggests that over centuries, women selected for traits like seed size and drought resistance, turning wild grasses into staple crops. A recent report found that many of the world's most important food plants were first domesticated in regions where women had significant control over food production. Yet their contributions often went unrecorded, overshadowed by narratives focused on male-led innovations. This invisible labor reshaped diets and societies, setting the stage for the next chapter in agricultural evolution. Wheat and corn, two of the world's most vital crops, were not simply discovered, they were crafted. Researchers say that for nearly 99% of human history, our ancestors relied on foraging and hunting for sustenance. It was only around 12,000 years ago that humans began transforming wild grasses into the staples we know today. Take corn or maize. Its wild ancestor, teosint, looked nothing like the plump ears we eat. Generations of selective breeding reshaped its form, turning a grass with tiny, hard kernels into a high-yield food source. Consider wheat. Modern varieties are the result of thousands of years of human intervention, with farmers choosing plants that produced larger grains and better harvests. These crops evolved alongside human societies, not in isolation. Today, scientists continue to refine them, responding to climate shifts and nutritional needs. But their journey began with the hands and choices of ancient farmers. As we trace the roots of our food, it becomes clear that what we eat is as much a product of human ingenuity as it is of nature. Long before modern agriculture shaped our diets, ancient crops like quinoa and amaranth thrived in the Andes and Mesoamerica. Researchers say these plants were staples for thousands of years, offering balanced nutrition in times when food sources were unpredictable. A recent report found that quinoa contains all 9 essential amino acids, making it a rare plant-based complete protein. Amaranth, once banned by Spanish colonizers for its cultural significance, is now celebrated for its iron and calcium content, surpassing many common grains. Today, these ancient foods are making a comeback, not just in health circles, but in global markets. In Peru, quinoa exports have grown over 300% in the past decade, showing how traditional crops can adapt to modern demand. As we look to sustainable and nutrient-rich food sources, these ancient grains remind us that the past can nourish the future. This brings us to the final chapter of our journey. For almost 99% of human history, gathering and hunting sustained us. A recent report found it wasn't until about 12,000 years ago that humans began domesticating plants, a shift that reshaped civilizations. Yet the origins of many crops remain fiercely debated. Take wheat. Once thought to have originated solely in the Fertile Crescent, new DNA studies reveal wild ancestors in multiple regions, complicating the narrative. Consider rice, long believed domesticated in China, but recent genetic evidence suggests a more complex, overlapping timeline with South Asian varieties. These findings challenge traditional models, revealing not single centers of domestication, but overlapping, interconnected hubs. Scholars now argue that human movement and climate shifts played a far greater role than previously assumed. As genetic tools advance, so too does our understanding of how food shaped and was shaped by human history. This evolving picture sets the stage for rethinking the roots of what we eat. For nearly 99% of human history, our ancestors survived by foraging and hunting, as noted in Nutrition and Health in Human Evolution, Past to Present. It wasn't until roughly 12,000 years ago that we began domesticating plants and animals, marking a turning point in how we interact with food. Take wheat, for instance, one of the earliest crops to be cultivated in the Fertile Crescent. Its domestication set the stage for the rise of cities and complex societies. Picture this: a single seed transformed agriculture, and with it, the trajectory of human civilization. The foods we now see on our plates are not just meals, but milestones. They carry the fingerprints of countless generations who experimented, adapted, and innovated. As you reflect on your next bite, consider the ancient hands that helped shape it. If you're curious to explore more of these hidden stories, subscribe for future deep dives, and let us know in the comments what food you'd like to see uncovered next. Sources for this video are in the description.